Between 1921 and 1935, the Canadian branch of American car manufacturer Durant Motors built automobiles in Canada at a plant in the Leaside neighborhood of Toronto, Ontario. Hi, I'm Dumaresq, Exhibit and Project Coordinator for the Canadian Automotive Museum, and today we're going to see what car building looked like at that plant in 1924. The footage you're about to see is an excerpt from a film strip called Your Future Car, showing auto construction across Ontario. Let's dive right in. The Leaside plant, off Laird Drive in Toronto, was originally a First World War munitions factory, but by 1924 it had become Canada's third largest car builder. This film strip shows the assembly of a mix of cars, mostly variants of the low-cost Star Model F. Stars were off-the-shelf cars, built mostly using inexpensive parts sourced from other manufacturers. Note the fairly simple methods used. The hammer seems to have been the most important tool in putting together a star. Here, workers rivet on the Durant tubular backbone, a hollow steel tube which helped prevent the car's frame from flexing and vibrating in motion. This led to their advertising slogan, "The car with a backbone." As the leaf springs of the suspension are installed, the hammer is once again the most important tool. Notice the cloth-covered bricks used to hold the springs in place. Car building was dirty, physically demanding, and dangerous work. The rear differential is bolted on with an electric wrench. The chassis is now transferred to the moving assembly line. The fuel tank and drive shaft are fitted in place. Stars were fairly conventional, front-engine, rear-wheel drive cars. With the underside finished, the chassis is flipped, so work can begin on the controls. Enamel paint is still a common method used to protect a car's chassis against moisture, wear and tear, and road damage. In the 1920s, it was the most resilient method available for the price, but it needed to be baked on, which was a time-consuming process. Auto body construction hadn't changed much from the days of building horse-drawn carriages. Bodies are assembled out of wooden components, glued, hammered, and nailed into place. The wood frame is then covered with an outer shell made of thin steel plates. With the doors attached, irregularities in the body are angle grinded away. Enamel body paint was a constant thorn in the side for car manufacturers. It was by far the most time-consuming part of assembling a car, and production flaws, including the presence of hairs, dirt, or dust, were difficult to fix. The film skips ahead here with the application of the final coat of lacquer to seal the car's body. The roof and upholstery on this Star Touring car have already been installed. And now the film jumps back to show how that upholstery was made. Upholstery departments were one of the few places it was considered acceptable for women to work in car factories in the early 20th century, because of the sewing and stitching skills required. Auto upholstering used techniques and materials that would have been familiar to carriage builders more than 50 years earlier. The use of multi-part clincher wheels with a separate rim, not unlike modern bicycle wheels, is unusual. This technique was starting to fall out of use by the mid-1920s, but it did make for somewhat less expensive wheels. The Star's engine, a flathead inline 4-cylinder Continental. Durant sourced most of its engines from Continental, and in the 1920s made up for a substantial majority of Continental's total production. A car body is lowered into place, in this case for a 2-door Star Model F sedan. On-frame construction like this, with the car's body and chassis being built separately and then mated together, was the most common method of car construction for most of the 20th century. We switch back to open-top Stars and a final closing shot of a fully assembled 1924 Durant A22. The Leaside plant ceased building Durant cars in 1930, as the company's corporate empire crumbled. Local manufacture would pass into Canadian hands with the creation of Dominion Motors. But that's a story for another day. If you'd like to learn more about Durants, Stars, and other cars made in Canada, consider visiting the Canadian Automotive Museum in Oshawa, Ontario, or check out our website at canadianautomotivemuseum.com.